All right. Hi, everybody. This is my very last screencast for your ninth grade school year. It's on the European Enlightenment, the last topic that we need to cover. We've pretty much hit them all this year. On the Enlightenment, you're going to pick up with pretty early in the year next year, and you're going to go into the French Revolution with that and other revolutions that were inspired by these Enlightenment ideas. We're talking about the 1700s here in Europe. So we have gone from prehistoric times in September all the way to the 1700s in almost every part of the world. And I'm really happy with where we've ended up here timing wise. So last assignment for you. And I'm going to get started with the Enlightenment. So, going through the 1500s, 1600s, now into the 1700s, there's been a lot of questioning in Europe, starting with the Protestant Reformation, questioning the Catholic Church and religion, and then the Scientific Revolution, questioning our surroundings in the world and our surroundings in the universe. And now we have the Enlightenment, which is going to question religion, economics, education, but I'm mainly going to focus on government and the new ideas in government. Our last topic was absolute rulers, and the Enlightenment ideas are going to challenge that absolute rule of the monarchs across Europe. So, by definition, the Enlightenment is an intellectual movement that stressed reason and thought and the power of individuals to solve problems. And a lot of comparisons are made between the Enlightenment ideas and the ideas of the scientific revolution, right, which introduced the scientific method based on experimentation and observation, and everything has to be proven, right? And so in terms of government and people's rights and the role of government in people's lives, the Enlightenment stressed the use of reason and thinking things through logically in applying the government's power over its people. Okay, so like I said, this is the age of reason, and we're in the mid 1700s here. And there are two English thinkers or philosophers who are given credit with starting the Enlightenment. The first one was actually included in our absolutism PowerPoint, and that is Thomas Hobbes and his book, The Leviathan, which justifies a ruler's need to have total power. Right? In order to avoid a miserable life, people had to hand over their rights to an absolute ruler. In exchange, they gained law and order. Okay, but Hobbes will say that without absolute rule, society will turn into chaos. People will get out of control. Right, there's Thomas Hobbes. A Leviathan is a sea monster. So the idea is, comparing the chaos of society to a sea monster wreaking havoc unless there is an absolute ruler in place. What's the problem here? Whoops, I went way too far. I apologize, guys. Okay, our second English thinker in the Enlightenment is John Locke. Okay, and he is the one that the Regents exam used to ask a lot. So I'm still going to stress him a lot, even though you guys aren't taking a Regents exam, and who knows what's going to be on the next Regents exam. But anyway, John Locke, he is like the face of the Enlightenment thinkers. His book is the Two Treatises of Government. And in this book, he introduced the idea of natural rights. Okay, natural rights are rights that we are born with naturally. They are our God-given rights. And specifically, Locke named three of them: life, liberty, and property, or land. Some of the 10th grade teachers, when they teach Locke, right, they teach Locke, life, liberty, land, right? And everything starts with L, and that's how they help you to remember the ideas of John Locke. So life, liberty, property, or land are our natural rights, rights that are given to us by God, that we are born with, that cannot be taken away, not by another person and not by our government. Okay. Another one of his ideas was the consent of the governed, the idea that people agree to have a government over them, and the role of that government is to protect our natural rights. So this is similar to Thomas Hobbes' idea of the social contract, right? That the people need a government to protect them. But Hobbes justified absolute rulers. Locke says that if the government's job is in place by the people agree to have that government over them. If the government does not protect their natural rights, then because the power of the government comes from the people, then it is also within the power of the people to remove that government and replace it with a new one that will protect those natural rights. All right, so that's where Locke differs from Hobbes, and these ideas are all put into our Declaration of Independence here in the United States. John Locke was a huge inspiration to the founding fathers of our country. Okay, I teach this stuff all to my 11th graders too. So you'll hear it again. There's John Locke. Okay, and again, his main ideas: we're born with natural rights, and we consent or agree to be governed in order that our natural rights will be protected. If the government does not protect those rights, we can overthrow. Okay, some Enlightenment philosophers from France. The movement of the Enlightenment will spread from England to France. The first one here is Voltaire, and he emphasized freedom of religion, speech, and press, which we here in the United States have in our First Amendment. And his famous quote is, "I do not agree with a word you say, but I will defend your right to say it." So he truly believed that the people need the right to question their government, which is something that they did not have under absolute rule. All right, Baron de Montesquieu, his book is called The Spirit of Laws, and he wrote about the dangers of having all the power of the government in the hands of one person. And instead, he suggested that the power of the government should be divided into 3 branches. And sometimes those Global 10 teachers will teach funny tricks to help you remember which Enlightenment philosopher said what. Locke, life, liberty, land. Now we have Montesquieu. 3 syllables. I know. Don't laugh at me. Montesquieu. Okay. You missed my silly tricks. So Montesquieu, 3 syllables, 3 branches of government he suggested, and he also described how those 3 branches should be able to check and balance each other so that no one branch gets too much power. And again, if you look at the American government and the setup of our government under our Constitution, this is absolutely implemented ideas from Baron de Montesquieu. Okay, and finally we have from France also Jean-Jacques Rousseau. His book was called The Social Contract. So again, he's talking about the people giving up some of their rights to have a government over them, but in exchange, the government will protect those rights. He kind of reiterated John Locke's natural rights, and he emphasized most, though, that the best type of democracy is a representative democracy. We talked about this earlier when we were studying Greece versus Rome, right? Greece had the smaller independent city-states, and that's why direct democracy worked in Athens, because they had a small population, so it was more practical if each eligible citizen voted for any decision that needed to be made for the city of Athens. But when you're talking about these larger nations that are now developing across Europe, right? England, France, Spain, and, when we get to, the birth of the United States, large countries, just like the Roman Empire was large, need a representative democracy in which we vote for someone to go and be our voice in a legislative body. Okay, like in England, they had the parliament. In France, they're going to have what's called the Estates General, and you'll talk about that next year. And of course, in the United States, we have Congress. So I think that is the last one. This was a quick topic. Okay, but these names, guys, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Voltaire, Montesquieu, Locke is the big one. Okay, when you see these names, you in your mind need to associate them with the European Enlightenment as a motivation or the basis for a lot of governmental revolutions around the world, a lot of overthrows of these absolute rulers that I was talking about in the last screencast. So that's it for this one. If you were looking at the calendar, I had said that I was going to post a Google form with questions. I think I'm going to do that on Castle Learning instead. So look for the Castle Learning assignment. And that's it. Get all your assignments done if you still have some left. Next week, I'm going to be calculating your averages. And I'm going to make a little video about how that's done. You've probably might have heard, the process from other teachers. And just a little goodbye message for you will be coming out early next week. I'll be on Google Meet from 1 to 2 on Friday. I have no Google Meets tomorrow, which is Thursday. So I'll be on Google Meet from 1 to 2 on Friday, and then again from 1 to 2 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. I'm also just going to post a quick survey for you guys to do for me so I can get some feedback on what you liked and what you didn't like, both in school and at home from this 9th grade year. So you're going to be sophomores, and I'm going to miss you guys. And now I'm getting into my goodbye message. So I'm going to cut it there. And if you want to hop on to any of my Google Meets just to say goodbye and check your grades or whatever next week, definitely do that. All right.